Tonight, the Sacramento Kings get blown out by the Oklahoma City Thunder on national television in a game that would have been far more embarrassing had it not been for Keegan Murray and the young Kings, who put on a big third quarter to give Sacramento life. On tonight's show, I'll walk you through the clear list of players Sacramento should move into their future with and who they should say so long to this summer. It's all right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, and this game in a lot of ways went as expected. The Kings, on the second night of a back-to-back after losing to the Boston Celtics the night before, still no Malik Monk, missing his third straight game with an illness. The Kings got beat up pretty handily, and some would say pretty easily, by the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are my pick to win an NBA title this year. I love this Thunder team. I think they've built everything correctly. They are unbelievably deep, unbelievably talented on both ends of the floor. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an absolute superstar, and his supporting cast is sensational. Everything about this Thunder team in many ways, and Doug Christie actually said a lot of this post-game, is exactly what the Sacramento Kings and what every other team wants to be, right? This is a developmental project gone right. This is truly the process that Joel Embiid made famous in saying, trust the process, years upon years upon years ago. The Thunder are the ones that are executing the process, I think, nearly to perfection. The only thing that's missing is the title at the end of it, or at least the title to begin maybe a new dynasty in Oklahoma City. I am a firm believer in this team, and therefore the Kings losing 121 to 105 did not surprise me by any means. That being said, I thought the first half by Sacramento was embarrassing. Completely embarrassing. Now, there were some good moments in the half, specifically from individual players, and I'll get into more of these in detail later on, but Keegan Murray got off to a good start to this game, shooting the basketball from three-point range. That carried through the entire night. I thought Keon Ellis' defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was really solid to start this game. Things we'll get into more later, but overall, as a team, the Sacramento Kings in the first half, they looked disinterested. They were getting embarrassed by the Thunder. It did not look like a game between established number one seed, right? The Thunder are so firmly in number one, like they don't have to play any games from here on out. Of course, they're going to continue to do so, but they don't have to, right? They're firmly in that number one seed, taking on a Sacramento Kings team that should be playing with desperation, trying to hold on to a play-in spot, trying to keep even their play-in hopes alive, let alone their potential playoff hopes. Right? And that's not what we saw from the Sacramento Kings at all. No sense of urgency, no desperation. This looked like a team that had rolled over and quit and was looking forward to, the players were looking forward to Cancun, and the organization was looking forward to the draft lottery in a couple months. That's what the Kings looked like in this first half. They fell behind by 24 points. They were down by 22 at halftime. It was bad. Right? And this crowd was a late arriving crowd. It was not full. The Kings announced it as a sellout, a 16,000 seat fan sellout, which doesn't make any sense considering a sellout crowd in this building is over 18,000 people with standing room only tickets. So it wasn't a sellout. The crowd was dead quiet. For a national television game, it was not a good showcase at all of this city, the fan base, this team, right? The state of the Sacramento Kings, especially in that first half. But the state of where this roster is at and the downfall from Beam Team 1 and all the excitement of that to where the Kings are at right now. That was on full display to a national audience on TNT in the first half of this game. And then the Sacramento Kings exploded in the third quarter. Absolutely exploded. A 39-25 third quarter where the Kings as a team were 10 of 13 from three-point range. They also scored 9 fast break points in the third quarter alone. And it was because of 3 men: Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Jake LaRavia. Now, that's not to say that none of the other guys did anything, but those 3 sparked Sacramento's best moments in this game, clearly their best quarter in this game. Those 3 woke the Golden One Center up. Those 3 brought the Sacramento Kings all the way back from down 24 to within 7 points because of this massive explosion that they started. It began really with Keegan Murray knocking down threes. Keegan had 16 points in the third quarter alone. He finished the game with 28 points, 9 of 13 from three-point range. He was on fire from 3. I think he joins Buddy Hield as the only King to have multiple 9 or more made three-point games in Kings history. I think I read that. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Keegan defensively also really solid. Had a steal, 3 blocks. 2 of them were on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Also had 6 rebounds in this game. He set the tone offensively to get the Kings going, to knock down some shots, to put the Kings in a 13-0 run that really ignited everything. And then you had Keon Ellis, who was back in the starting lineup tonight with Malik Monk continuing to be out with an illness. He, like I said earlier, had really solid defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the start. But during this third quarter, he was everywhere. He was scrappy, knocked down a couple of shots himself, but really it was what he was doing on the defensive end and creating loose balls, deflections, steals. He and Jake LaRavia coming in off the bench were the ones that provided that spark that we have now seen on 3 separate occasions during this homestand alone. 3 separate occasions. A 7-game homestand out of the 6 games that we've seen so far. 3 games, 2 of them the Kings have won, have been on the back or have been sparked. The best moments have come from some combination of Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, Jake LaRavia, and I'll even throw Devin Carter in there. Right? Devin didn't do a whole lot tonight, but he was huge for the Kings against the Cavaliers and had a really good minutes against the Memphis Grizzlies when the Kings beat them to start this homestand. Right? It is not a coincidence that these young guys were the ones that weren't just able to get the crowd involved. Right? They were the ones to set the tone. They were the ones to wake the whole team up. They were the ones to fight and scratch and claw and send a message to the national audience that probably will get lost. But if any of you are tuning into this Locked On Kings podcast who aren't regular fans or regular followers of the Kings who watched this game tonight, I hope you understand, or I hope you take away that, yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder blew out the Sacramento Kings tonight. No, the Kings are not in a good place as a franchise, but the players who got the Kings back into it, the players who gave Sacramento hope, that gave Sacramento a chance, that showed up and actually rolled their sleeves up and went to work, those players were the young guys. Those players were the hustle, energy, scrappy guys. One guy that just got traded from Memphis, another guy that was a two-way player as early as last year, and Keegan Murray, who, yes, he was a former number 4 overall pick, but Keegan Murray has been on the ups and downs and put in a box of he's only a average or good, slightly above average player on both ends of the ball. Those were the guys that got Sacramento going and gave them a chance that it didn't look like they were going to have a single bit of hope with the way that first half went. Those young Kings saved Sacramento from total embarrassment in this game, regardless of the final score, because it should have been a whole lot worse based off of how this game was going and based off of how the other Kings played. I tweeted out midway through this game, actually by the end of that third quarter when we saw this push. To me, it's crystal clear. I don't know what the future is for the Sacramento Kings. I don't know what the freaking direction is for the Sacramento Kings. It's funny, Sam Amick wrote that Domantas Sabonis will seek clarity from the organization on their direction this offseason. He and everybody else in this freaking city and fan base, we have no idea what the direction is of this organization at this point. But I know who I would want to continue my future with or go into my future with, and who I'm ready to say bye-bye to. And here's that list of players for me. These are the players firmly in the keep category for me. Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, who I know he struggled for the most part since the De'Aaron Fox trade. It's because Malik Monk is not in the position and role that's best suited for him. And I know Monk wants to be a starter, but if the Kings can find a way to get Malik Monk back into that six-man Energizer Bunny off the bench role, he's perfect for it, and we saw how great he was for the Sacramento Kings. So I'm not out on Malik just because this experiment of him as the starting point guard hasn't really worked. So Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, Keon Ellis speaks for itself. The Kings have to worry about finding a way to pay Keon Ellis and keep him around long term. Jake LaRavia, who's come in and really answered the call for what the Sacramento Kings have needed after the trade deadline. They are restricted on how much money they can give him because of the decision made by the Memphis Grizzlies not to exercise the final team option year of his rookie scale contract. So it's a little bit messy there, but hopefully they can keep Jake LaRavia around. Devin Carter, simply because he's a rookie and he provides a lot of that energy and hustle that he naturally provides that I think this Kings team has really benefited from over at least the last couple of weeks. And then I threw Jonas Valanciunas in there. We've seen his shortcomings. We've seen where he does not fit with this group when they try and go small or when he struggles with his mobility. But the depth he provides at that center position is really, really solid, and he's not an expensive contract by any means, especially with the new CBA that we're about to go into and the new salary cap. So I put Jonas Valanciunas in that list. You may notice that Domantas Sabonis is not on that list. That's because I kind of put him in a special category. To me, Domantas Sabonis, you know how much I love Sabonis. I think Sabonis the Kings are totally fine with keeping Sabonis around unless they want to do a full-on blow-it-up rebuild, which is I just don't think this team is going to do. So to me, keeping Domantas Sabonis around makes a ton of sense. I put him in a special category, though, because he is a big contract. He's a big contract that's tough to move. So in a lot of ways, the Kings might be kind of forced to keep Domantas Sabonis. Now, there are teams, I think, that would be interested in Sabonis, but for $40+ million a year, and that contract ends up just shy of $50 million at the end of it, that's not an easy contract to move, but it's not like it's a bad thing for the Sacramento Kings to hold on to Domantas Sabonis by any means, in my opinion. The other one that's in this special category, other player that's in this special category, is Zach LaVine. Me personally, if there was a way, this is hard because it sounds like I'm giving up on Zach LaVine, and I don't mean it this way. I just personally think, I know for a fact that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan together do not work. I'm willing to get a look at, and we're more than likely going to get a look at next year and over the next 2 years, what Zach LaVine looks like without DeMar DeRozan here. Zach LaVine is making like $48 million next year and $50 million his final year, right? That is a very, very, very tough contract to move for the Sacramento Kings. So I'm expecting Zach LaVine to be around, but compared to Sabonis, if you told me you had to get rid of one of those two guys, it's Zach LaVine for me pretty easily at this point. I also put Doug Christie in the special category because to me, simply based off of what Doug Christie has done, I think he deserves the head coaching job. I think he's earned it. I think he's done a good job. He has some shortcomings, but he's been put in a very, very difficult, inconsistent position. The problem is, though, here's why I have him in the special category, and I've talked about this before. What I believe needs to happen is a complete reset of this front office. And if you reset the front office, but force the front office to take Doug Christie on as their next head coach, that'll be the third time that Vivek Ranadive has done that in his ownership tenure here in Sacramento, and it never works, and it's always bad. So Doug Christie, like, he's on this special list because even if I think he deserves the job, for the direction of where the Sacramento Kings need to go, it's in the best interest, in my opinion, of the organization to let their new front office hire their own head coach. and not force them to bring Doug Christie back, regardless of the job that he has done here. That's why I have Doug in my special category. The guys in the bye-bye category, DeMar DeRozan. Not that I blame DeRozan for everything going on, but I think it's going to be in the mutual best interest of both parties. DeRozan wants to win. He's 35, 36 years old. It's not working out here in Sacramento. It hasn't worked out here in Sacramento. From the Kings' perspective, DeRozan and LaVine do not work. We saw this in Chicago. I don't know why we decided to give it another try here in Sacramento. It hasn't worked. DeMar DeRozan does not fit with what this Sacramento Kings team is trying to do, or what we believe they're going to be trying to do going forward. So bye-bye DeMar DeRozan. Again, it's not all his fault, but I think he will want to move on, and it'll be in the best interest of the Kings to move on. I think that needs to happen this offseason. You know how I feel about the front office. Monte McNair, I think, needs to go this offseason. And then everybody else on the roster, right? Everybody else, like if certain guys stuck around, if they brought certain guys back just to fill out their roster, I wouldn't hate to see Trey Lyles back. Not that I expect that at this point. I think Trey Lyles is going to be long gone. I wouldn't hate to see some of these role players that they have on this roster back. Certainly guys like Isaac Jones, who is a two-way player now converted to a full contract. I wouldn't hate it, but they are not on that keep core list of guys that I shared for you earlier on. I want to hear your list of guys that you would absolutely keep, your list of maybe special cases, and then your list of guys that you're like, so long, see you later. I don't think the Kings should proceed beyond this summer with those guys as part of the Sacramento Kings. Share with me that list, and when we come back, you are going to hear from Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Doug Christie talking about that young, energizing core that was instrumental in the Kings' big run in the third quarter tonight and has been instrumental in a lot of the good that the Sacramento Kings have done during this homestand. That's still coming and more here on Locked On Kings. Like I said at the top of the show, today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where the heck did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start actually building your wealth. They'll provide some surprising insights for you, areas that you didn't know you were spending a lot of money on, little things that add up, right? When we go out and get a $4 to $6 cup of coffee, it feels like just $4 to $6 every time we swipe our card. But you might realize, oh my gosh, I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month getting coffee every day or every other day. That's something that dawned on my family when we started using Monarch Money. There's all-in-one convenience instead of juggling a bunch of different apps and spreadsheets and anything like that. You have Monarch and Monarch alone to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Plus, collaboration is easy. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without any of that added stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Like I said before I went to that break, here is Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Doug Christie talking about this, call it a defensive unit, the young energizer guys, whatever you want to call them, the impact that they've made, the positive impacts that they've made during this homestand. Keegan, there have been a handful of times just in this homestand that yourself, Jake, and Keon have been part of these pushes that start on the defensive end, getting the crowd involved. I'm just curious your opinion on just the three of you in that group on the floor and how effective you guys can be.
That's kind of our role, to try and figure out how to change the game in a defensive way, whether that's getting deflections, whether that's generating steals, leading to transition so that we can have transition points. And I feel like especially, you can add Devin in there too. He's done a really good job of kind of changing the game. So we just have to continue to affect the game on the defensive end if we want to win.
We all know that we're energy guys, glue guys, come in and try to bring the spark, whether that's, continue whatever the starting five is doing or, just try to help bring us back and, get some energy going. So we know that's our job. So we just try to come in and do that to the best of our abilities and try to keep the game simple, not try to overdo anything and just make all the hustle plays and, just fly around and just try to keep the energy up and have our effect on the game.
when I played, we had the bench mob, and they would come in and they would wreak havoc, and that's what you do. You don't know how many minutes you're going to get, but when you get your minutes, you make somebody feel you with your minutes. And those guys they bring it. They diving on the floor, they in the passing lanes, they are playing a style of basketball that's super handsy, and you ain't going to be able to call them all. And if you do, good for you. But the point is, people are going to feel us, and that's what I'm here for. So proud of all those guys because they bring it whenever they step on the floor. Yeah.
So we're down to 10. 10 games remaining this season. Now, after tonight's loss, the Sacramento Kings didn't go anywhere in the standings. They're still in 9th. However, they're tied with the Suns in 10th. Now, the Kings are currently still in 9th because as of now, they own the tiebreaker over the Suns. They're up 2-1 during the season series with Phoenix. But as we walked through the last night, the Kings and Suns play each other on the final day of the regular season. So that game could be pretty spicy when it comes down to it. But right now, the Kings, they did not fall out of the play-in. They're still in 9th, although they're only half a game out of 11th. The Dallas Mavericks lost to the New York Knicks tonight. So the Kings holding on by a thread still. But to me, these final 10 games, it is in the best interest of this organization to look towards the future and use this time wisely. That is more important to me than the play-in at this point. Now, both can go hand in hand. In my opinion, by using the time wisely and emphasizing these younger players, that might directly correlate to you having the best chance to win enough games to make it into the play-in. But what I need to see, what I want to see the Sacramento Kings do over these final 10 games is, especially with Keegan Murray, feature him in the offense. Let Keegan Murray get his shots up. Let him try some things. He's not going to score 28 points every night like he did tonight. But Doug Christie has said he needs to shoot 10 threes a game. Hell yes. Let him fly, Keegan. Keep giving Keegan Murray the ball. Give him opportunities to create off the dribble, find him in catch and shoot situations. It's funny, Keegan said after the game that he's been finding his rhythm, and what's helped him to find his rhythm in games is getting out in transition. So playing Keegan and that defensive lineup more to where they're getting stops and getting out in transition, I think will lead to better opportunities for Keegan and his development going forward. Right, DeMar DeRozan tonight, 10 points, 4 of 15 from the field, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, did have a steal and a block, but another inefficient shooting night for DeMar. Zach LaVine did have 19 points, did shoot the ball a lot more than he has recently, 7 of 16 from the field. He reached the three-point quota of 10 three-point attempts a game that Doug Christie put out there. He was 4 of 11 from three-point range. He was also a team worst minus 31 by a large margin. When Zach LaVine was on the floor, the Sacramento Kings really struggled in this game. Not that that's all Zach LaVine's fault, but even though he shot the ball more and scored more, it still was not a good game for Zach LaVine. My point is, you know what these two guys are going to do. You know who they are. Right? You know what they do. And that doesn't mean that you completely take the ball out of their hands. That doesn't mean that if you're in a close game against Portland on Thursday night, you can't still lean on LaVine or lean on DeRozan. Sure, go for it. But I don't need these guys taking 20 shots a night each, or these guys being number 1, number 2 featured in the offense for the final 10 games of this season. I've seen enough to know more often than not, it does not work. I would rather the Sacramento Kings use that time to give Keegan Murray especially more looks and put these defensive lineups out there together more. Put more of Keegan and LaRavia and Keon and Devin on the floor together. Feature those guys more. If it means less minutes for DeMar, less minutes for LaVine, so freaking be it. Again, I have more confidence in that group going forward as being actually part of my future than I do in this whatever the hell experiment of Chicago Bulls West that the Sacramento Kings have been doing since the trade deadline. It hasn't worked. It's not going to be a part of your future. Or if it is, then you're dumb. You're stupid. I'm sorry. Like if the Sacramento Kings think that they can roll out LaVine and DeRozan again with this Sacramento Kings team next year, they're wasting everybody's time. There's no point of even playing next season. I know how it's going to play out. The Kings are going to be mid. They're going to be disappointing again. The Kings can't do that. They have to know that. Vivek Ranadive has to know that. Current front office, new front office, doesn't matter. Everybody with a brain has to know that this isn't going to work. It hasn't worked. It's done. So use these final 10 games. You can still feature those guys and have them on the floor because they're on your roster right now and they have value for you. but feature more of the young guys that you actually think can be a part of some kind of turnaround or some kind of reemergence in the future. That's what I want to see out of the Sacramento Kings for the remainder of this season. And if you make the play-in because of it, again, we've seen the best moments of this team during this homestand when those young guys have been out on the floor creating change, getting this team, the crowd involved, giving this team energy, giving them life, and leading them to where they could beat the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was because of their effort. They might make the play-in still. That's fantastic. Then you give them that experience. If they don't make the play-in, though, oh well, so be it. At this point, to me, making the play-in is not a victory. And I've even shared with you, making it through the play-in and making it into the playoffs only to get your ass kicked by the Oklahoma City Thunder in a best-of-7 series, that's not a win to me at this point. Speaking of that, though, I want to play for you this soundbite from Doug Christie after the game. I thought some really good words and interesting stuff from Doug in here. At the very beginning, you're going to hear him talk about the message that he sent to this team at halftime, involving the Thunder as the team that the Kings would face in the playoffs, and how his team responded to that message. Plus, Doug goes on to talk about this is a good team. Like, they have all the potential of being a good team. They just need to figure it out. Well, they're running out of time to figure it out. But to me, while Doug isn't excluding DeRozan and Levine and even Sabonis, a lot of what he's saying here, I think, applies to the young guys that I want to see the Sacramento Kings focus on developing and giving opportunities to over the final 10 games of this regular season. Here's Doug Christie.
Told them, right before we went on the court, out on the court in the second half, I said that's the team that you're going to face in the playoffs, and at some point you're going to have to make a stand. And to our guys' credit, they did. If you guys know me, I'm not the moral victory guy, but there is a good team in our locker room, and they're trying to find their way, and they're trying to find their rhythm, and they continue to fight, and I appreciate that. It doesn't feel good right now, but once they get that rhythm, watch out.
In other Kings news today, half of Sacramento's front office is no more. Wes Wilcox, the assistant general manager to Monte McNair, although I think it was pretty well known and understood that he had a lot of primary responsibilities as an assistant GM. Wes Wilcox is leaving the Sacramento Kings and becoming the men's basketball general manager at the University of Utah. It's funny because in a lot of ways it's a continued kind of exodus of that Beam team, right? Some of it unplanned, like Mike Brown being fired and De'Aaron Fox being traded. But, we saw Luke Laux a couple of years ago leave the bench mid-season to go and take over as the head coach at Florida State, his alma mater. Now you have Wes Wilcox willingly walking away and saying goodbye. Now, I have no idea if Wes sees the writing on the wall and thinks that he's not going to have a job this summer after this season is over and done with, and that's why he's taking this job, or if he thinks it's a better opportunity or not. I don't know. I don't have any idea. As I've made it perfectly clear, I think this needs to happen. A new front office needs to happen. This is part one of what needs to happen. Wes is now gone, and it's easier that he's taking another job. He already has something lined up, so it's easier than... look, even if Monte McNair is fired, what you're never going to see is me celebrating somebody losing their job. I appreciate a lot of what Monte and Wes were able to do to help get this organization back to any sort of relevancy. Now, they have completely screwed it up over the last couple of years since getting it there. But I appreciate them for the work that they did. And every interaction that I had with Wes Wilcox was always great. He was always super professional. He was super kind to me. The conversations that we would have, there wouldn't be a lot of them and they wouldn't be very long, but he was always super kind and super professional with me. So I have no ill feelings towards Wes Wilcox or Monte McNair or anybody in this Kings front office. They just have not done an adequate job. It has been a disaster. It has been a failure, and just like the Kings reset their head coach position, reset the star on their roster, it is also time for them to reset their front office, and Wes Wilcox has helped take the first step to making that happen by going to the University of Utah. I appreciate him for that. I wish him the best of luck in whatever he's doing over there in Utah. And now we'll see what the future holds for Monte McNair. But like, regardless of this season's outcome, this organization needs a reset. That does not mean there's a difference between a reset and a complete blow it up rebuild. I do not think that's where we're headed. I do not think it is in the interest of the Sacramento Kings at all, ownership on down, to completely rebuild. So if you want the Kings to do that, and it might be the best path, but if you want the Kings to do that, I don't mean to burst your bubble. I just don't think that's going to happen. I do not think a blow it up, start from scratch rebuild is going to happen. That being said, a reset of a new front office coming in here and inheriting this, let's face it, mess, and trying to figure it out and being given the keys and the appropriate time to figure it out, because the Kings still have assets. They have things that they can do. They're not in a great place salary cap-wise, and they have two really massive contracts that are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. But there's the Kings aren't in hell, right? They're, well, basketball hell, but the Kings, like, it's not maybe the most ideal job, but it's one of 30 NBA jobs. Someone will come in and want to try and take on this project and get this team back to where they were even a couple of years ago. This team needs a reset, and they need a direction. What is the direction? I don't know. Domantas Sabonis is seeking clarity this offseason, like I said earlier, as is everybody in Sacramento. I'm sure there's people in this organization that are still are going to be seeking clarity. There is no direction. There is no clarity right now. To me, the only thing that is captivating about this team right now, in addition to, like, look, I haven't completely soured on Domantas Sabonis. I know how unbelievably talented Sabonis is, and I do think Sabonis can be part of winning here in Sacramento for sure. Not as your number one guy, and I know he's paid like it, but it's not my money. That's the reality of the situation. To me, the only really captivating thing about this roster and this group right now are the young, hustle, defense-first energy guys that we've talked so much about in this podcast. Take them, give them opportunity over these final 10 games, and bring them into, they don't have to be your core, they don't have to be your stars. It doesn't mean Keon Ellis is your number one option or Jake LaRavia is you're going to be a starter for you for the foreseeable future. It doesn't mean that. But these are guys that are playing the right way and doing the things that this organization needs. So ride with them going forward. We'll see how these final 10 games go, starting with the Portland Trail Blazers on Thursday. Kings get the day off tomorrow after this really tough doubleheader. At least it's behind us, right? At least this doubleheader from hell, this back-to-back games against the two best teams in the NBA, in my opinion. It's over. Thank goodness. Not that the schedule gets a ton easier, but it's over. 10 games remaining. How you feeling? Let me know. At MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.